What up YouTube? Salvador Brigman here, and today we are talking about the do's and the don'ts of crowdfunding. So what should you do as you're gearing up for the launch of an upcoming Kickstarter or an Indiegogo campaign? You're trying to raise money with crowdfunding. What should you do and what should you not do? And my goal here, I want this to be invaluable advice for you. I want to make it so that you're not only removing headache, we're saving you time, we're saving you money as you're going into your upcoming crowdfunding campaign. So when we think about what are the do's here, what are the ways that we can actually improve the chances that you not only hit, but you exceed your funding goal on Kickstarter or Indiegogo? What are the ways we can make it so that you're more likely to be successful? I've seen a lot of different successful entrepreneurs. I've seen many who have been not so successful with crowdfunding. So I'm sharing with you some of the stuff that you need to do. So the number one thing is, when we're in our daily life, we are consumers. We're buying things, we're sold to, we're exposed to marketing messages and advertisements, etc. Once we go into crowdfunding, we immediately adopt the mindset of business owner. And we think, okay, I want to get funding for my business. Okay, I want to get funding to produce this film or this book project or this comic book, whatever it is. So we're like, okay, I'm going to go on this platform in order to raise funds. And that's great. That's the whole reason that we're doing crowdfunding in the first place. But in order to do that, in order to fully understand what other consumers are experiencing, we first have to be a backer. We first have to be a consumer. So what I want you to do is I want you to go on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and I want you to back a few projects on the platform. It doesn't have to be for a large amount of money. You can just throw $1, $5 at some of these projects. Find some ones that you really like and resonate with, and if you actually back some in the category that you plan to launch in, that's even better. But what I want you to do is, when you back these projects, take a look at the marketing, take a look at the messaging. How does the video make you feel? What actually made you decide, yeah, this is a person that I want to support? Pay attention to that. Because when you do, and you actually back this, you then get to see how the creator does updates. You get to see some of the other comments that are coming their way with the overall project that they're running. You get a sense of their reward tiers, and your own questions, oh, is free shipping included? Or how does this add-on thing work? What about this stretch goal? You get a sense of what it feels like to be a backer. And that information, that intel, is invaluable to you. In order to be a good entrepreneur or a business owner, you also have to be a consumer. You have to know what it feels like to buy a product. In order to run a successful crowdfunding campaign, you also have to back projects and get a sense of what it's like there. So that's something that you can do going into your crowdfunding campaign. And it also forces you to think a little bit more about preparation and how your backers are going to view this project once it's out there, once it's live. Everyone can check it out. They can critique it. They can give you positive or negative feedback. You'll get a sense of what that's like. On the con side, on the side of stuff you should not be doing, the do's and don'ts, I think that there's a lot to be said for not making rash decisions. And it's easy for me to be on a pedestal here, lecturing you on the subject of rash decisions. I've made many rash decisions in my own life. And I think when we think of the concept of emotions in business, usually people tell you you should not be emotional about your business decisions or about, important decisions in your life, that you should not be emotional. At the same time, I do think there is some level or some reason for emotion. So to give you an example here, I would not be willing to put out videos on YouTube like this, free content on my blog, free podcast episodes, provide free support to people with kickstarterforum.org. I would not be willing to do that unless I felt a strong degree of emotion. The reason I do these things is because I feel a certain sense of obligation, and I also am passionate. I'm a passionate teacher. I love to talk about this concept of crowdfunding. I love to share advice and tips with you. So for me, emotion is like a secret sauce, if you will, for my business, because it gets me to work hard. It gets me to put in long hours and do things that other people with who are trying to do the same stuff but don't have passion probably would not be willing to do. The problem is when you're in the middle of a crowdfunding campaign and you start to panic. You start to feel like, oh crap, I don't know what's gonna happen. Where am I gonna get backers? Where am I gonna get more traffic? You start to really have this sense of fear and panic and urgency, like, oh man, I only have 2 weeks left with this campaign. What am I gonna do? And that's usually when I see many creators making a mistake. They end up going on websites like Fiverr and they spend $5 expecting to get like thousands and thousands of dollars in pledges. And that's just not true. Or they use promotional websites that are very shady. They were set up like 3 months ago. They promise you the sky. It's like you're going to Hollywood and someone's like, yeah, kid, I'll get you in a big blockbuster movie. Just give me $1,000 and I'll show you the way. There are a lot of people in the industry that are like that. So I want you to be aware of when you are most susceptible for a bad decision to happen when it comes to crowdfunding. And that's usually when you begin to feel these emotions of frustration, of anger, of things aren't going as you want it. You start to panic a little bit. That's when you're gonna make your rash decisions. So don't make those rash decisions. It's your job as the business owner to be a bit of a rock. You're using some certain emotions and all these different things in order to persuade customers in order to buy your product or to support your campaign. But at the same time, you don't want to be swayed in that way, in the way that customers are with all these emotions surrounding the product. Be objective, get feedback, don't take it personally. Don't take any kind of criticism personally. That's going to help you a lot as you're launching your campaign. So let's talk about another do. So this next do, something you should be doing with your upcoming campaign. I get a lot of flack for this. I get a lot of pushback on this. And I think, if you're listening to this right now and I say this, you're probably going to be like, no, like I don't like this idea. But the idea that I really want to implant in your brain right now, like I really want you to pay attention, is you need to create a launch budget. You need to create a budget for this sucker, this Indiegogo or this Kickstarter campaign. And I'm not saying, you need to necessarily budget like tens of thousands of dollars or something like that. It could even be $500, it could be $1,000. It could be low amounts, it could be $300. It doesn't matter. All I'm saying is put aside a budget. And that budget you're going to be spending on things like video production, on making sure that you have the right mentors and coaches and consultants around you so you can launch an effective campaign. You're going to put that into Facebook ads. You're maybe going to put that into PR or courting influencers. Every single campaign is different out there. But when you have a budget, in your mind, just psychologically, that money is set aside for the campaign. You're going to use that money to propel the success of the campaign. And by doing that, by setting aside that budget, you're more likely to see success. It's very difficult to see success if you're just expecting all of these backers and all of these people to discover you without putting in any kind of effort or any kind of time investment or any kind of monetary investment into the actual campaign. You need a high quality video, you need high quality campaign resources, you need a marketing strategy, all of these different things in order to raise significant amounts on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. I'm talking 6 figures, 7 figures, and you also need the right people around you that are going actually out there and maybe engineering the product, the people that are going to market it and tell the story, the people that are going to help you in all the different ways of managing the campaign, etc. So set aside a budget. That is the next do. Now when it comes to the don't is sort of the flip of that. If you can think of a coin, this is the second side of the coin. The don't is, don't expect something for nothing. And I think this is also a difficult lesson. I think I might get a little bit of criticism here, but I'm being completely honest. A lot of people out there expect something for nothing, and that just does not exist in today's world. They expect that because I think I've created this great idea or this great product, other people are naturally going to buy it, or other people are naturally going to support me, or I'm automatically going to get funded. Or people, even if I only have like a half-baked product, like I have this idea, I don't have a prototype together, but I want to raise money for it with crowdfunding, they expect, because of me and my credentials and what I've done in the past, people are going to be willing to invest in that project, and that is just not true. Crowdfunding is not like everyone give me funding, that way I'm happy. It doesn't work that way. Crowdfunding is more of like this. It's more of like, hey, I have this really cool idea. This is what goes into it. I put a little bit of my own money into it. These are the cool facets of the project. You can use it for X, Y, and Z. Look at all these other cool people who can use this product. Do you want to own this thing? And the other person's like, yeah, that sounds dope. And then you're like, great. The only thing that I need in order to get this into your hands is a small offering of support. A small amount of money that's going to go into funding the actual production run of this product. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to be on the ground floor of sending this out to everyone and to also getting one in the mail for you, a package in the mail? Crowdfunding is about when people support your reward tiers, when they give you money, what they're really saying is, I want to own this product. I want one of these. I want to use this in my life. I want to see this exist in the world. It's not about you or the creator. It's really about the individual who's making that donation or that pledge. People are buying into your vision, or they're buying into what they want to see in the world. Let's just say it's not even a product there. Let's just say you're raising money for a film. I've had people on the podcast, one woman raised over $50,000 on Kickstarter, and this film, she had one backer, one stranger who contributed a significant amount to her campaign. And the reason was they saw her campaign on social media and they really connected with the way that she was helping and sort of portraying the camaraderie with women that were going through a very difficult time, particularly a genocide in Rwanda. So they saw this and it reminded them of some of the things in their past, and they wanted to support the film because they wanted more messages like that being portrayed in the world, being shared in the world, in more ways that women can look up to these kinds of films and these messages. So it's never about you. It's always about the other person. So always try to do that. Don't expect something for nothing. So the final thing I want to say for do's and don'ts, we have one more left. The actual do, what you should be focused on. Do plan a pre-launch. Do have an email list. Do think about the marketing and how you're actually going to get people to this campaign. I would even go so far as to say, do plan to be funded within your first week. That's going to help you a tremendous amount. There are a lot of tricks, a lot of secrets, a lot of things that go behind an actual successful campaign. Like, we think it's all instantaneous. Like, we think it's all like, oh my gosh, this just blew up. To be honest with you, a guy who's seen the back end of all these campaigns, there's a lot that goes into the preparation and a lot that happens behind the scenes. These people that are running these campaigns have a very deep understanding of why crowdfunding works, the psychological concepts that go into why someone gives money. They almost engineer their campaign for success. They set an artificially low goal. They make sure they hit that goal within the first 7 days. There are a lot of different things that happen behind the scenes that make it appear as though this just kind of happened out of thin air. So what I'd love it is if you could join me on one of my web classes, one of my webinars, one of these classes that I put on virtually, and I usually do them once a month. So if you subscribe to my general email newsletter, I send out new news, new content, new videos, new podcasts every single week. So if you want to do that, the link is crowdcrux.com/subscribe. I'll also include a link down below if you want to subscribe to my newsletter. And that's usually when I'm going to share if I'm doing a web class. And on those classes, I go through these different things like, okay, if you want to engineer your campaign for success, how do you actually do that? What are these campaigns doing behind the scenes that you don't actually see that set themselves up for success? So you have to think about the launch, you have to think about where you're getting your email list, you have to think about how you're going to be getting the word out, all this kind of stuff, the amount you can actually fund within the first week. These are the things you need to be thinking about, a major do going into your campaign. And finally, the last don't that I want to close out on is don't try to do this all yourself, man. It's gonna drive you wild. It's going to just be a lot of headache, a lot of frustration, You're not good at everything. I'm not good at everything. I'm only good at a certain core select group of skills. Like, I'm not really an engineer. I'm not good at designing things. The main thing I'm good at is marketing and sales. Like, those are the more like bread and butter things that make up all of my success to this date. I'm good at writing and speaking. Like, that's what I really love. I love teaching. Similarly, you are not necessarily good at everything. There are certain things that you are really, really good at. Maybe you're a big picture thinker. Maybe you're really good at engineering and the details. Maybe you are really good on the marketing side. It's your job as an engineer not to try to be, as an entrepreneur, not to try to be like good at everything. No one is good at anything, or everything. I'm messing up on my words now. No one is good at everything. But you can be good at one thing, and you can surround yourself with a team of people who are good at all these other areas which you kind of suck at. And that's how so many of these projects and so many of these companies are built. The founder recognizes what they're good at, what they're not good at, and they assemble a team around them to set themselves up for success. So that team could include people like, I've had people on the show who are not engineers, and they have to hire an engineer or a designer to help create the product. I've had people on the show who are designers and engineers, but they don't know how to even get started with the marketing of the campaign. So they have to hire people to help with things like Facebook ads, or things like the graphics or the video. I've also had people on the show who aren't necessarily good at any of this, but they just are looking to assemble a team around themselves. They have success from a previous business, and they're looking to do this other business, so then they end up assembling a team of people like consultants, people to mentor them, people to do the marketing, people to actually engineer the products. So it really depends on what you bring to crowdfunding, how you're going to structure this. So I hope that this has been a helpful and informative video. And I also hope that some of my ideas and thoughts about crowdfunding have challenged maybe your conception of it a little bit, and also some of the stuff that I'm telling you now, it's maybe not the easiest to hear, like having to build a team or having to set aside a budget. That's not something that most people want to hear. The average person wants to hear that, oh, this is like something you can do. You don't need money. You don't need to work hard. You don't need a financial investment. You just put up a project and it's magically funded. And to a certain degree, at certain points in time, that is true. There are campaigns that are literally just like you put up and like are magically funded. But that's not the norm. That is a statistical anomaly. There are, though, definitely proven practices and strategies. There is a formula behind making a campaign successful, and all you have to do is follow that formula. So I recommend either subscribing to this YouTube channel, picking up one of my educational products. I have books out there. One is called the Kickstarter Launch Formula. There's a lot of different information that I have out there. I have a podcast on iTunes, also on YouTube. And finally, I also put on web classes and webinars, usually once a month. If you want to gain access to me directly, you want to ask me questions, you want to see some of the things that I've learned about crowdfunding that I can share with you to make sure that you have a more powerful launch, you can join one of my web classes. But again, my name is Salvador Brigman. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.